said, I own a company here in Stanford called EdgeSpace Marketing. We do web development, social media management, and search engine optimization. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of the HAYVN members. I'm actually working with Annie right now on her Squarespace website. So when that launches, you guys will be the first to know. So for things that I do, and especially how I run my classes, for those of you who've been to my class, I usually do a little bit of presentation and then I get right into demo because I believe in, I can theoretically tell you all the things, but if I show you, it makes it a lot easier. And with Canva, the interface tends to evolve a lot. So for those who are, for the recording folks, if you're watching this a few weeks, a few months from now, forgive me if your buttons aren't in the same place that they are today, because even myself, I go in and it changes week to week. So with that, I'm going to jump right into the presentation just to give you a little overview of Canva, and then I'll do some demo with you. All right. So let's talk about Canva. So Canva is basically a free graphic design software. There is a online paid plan, and I know there's a couple graphic designers on the call who will, they will use specialized graphic design programs. But Canva is a great way for you as a small business owner, an entrepreneur, a student, just to kind of cut your teeth, learn how to use it. I am not a graphic designer by any means, but I kind of know how to use the software, and I'm sure sometimes the way I use it, there's going to be some graphic designers cringing because there's probably a better way to do it. But it is a nice way for you to be able to do it affordably. Now, because I've been using Canva for a while, I do have a paid plan. So there are some features that you'll see in my profile that with your free plan, you may not see. So what can you use Canva for? So right off the bat, a lot of people use Canva for social media marketing, whether it's Instagram posts, LinkedIn posts, Insta stories. They all have different formatting, different shape sizes, and Canva helps you know your dimensions and cut your sizes. And we'll go over that in a little bit. Facebook banners, newsletter covers, and now this is all digital marketing. You can even do printed stuff that includes brochures and trifolds, business cards, flyers, posters. I mean, this is just a small subset of what you can do with Canva. When we go into the demo, you'll actually see all of the different features they offer. Here are a couple examples of social media graphics that we've created with Canva. So these are all in the square format for Instagram because that's primarily what my company uses it for. And then as we look, here's an example of a trifold. We did this a while ago, and this was early on when the designs were limited. Since then, they've evolved quite a bit. But what was really nice was this client was able to take these designs, send them over to Vistaprint, and then Vistaprint was able to print them high quality. And then she had her trifolds that she was looking for. Few things to keep in mind when you are using Canva. One of the first things you want to know is, what are your dimensions? This is very, very important because if you're designing a square element for Instagram, that's fine. But if you're going to use the same element for your Insta story, it may not fill up the phone screen correctly, or vice versa. If you're using your Insta story, which is a long rectangle, that's not going to quite work for your post, which is in your feed, which is actually formatted to a square. The stuff at the top or bottom or some part will get cut off. And then for the formatting of the design, you want to also start to consider your text, your colors, your images. There's a couple different ways to approach that. I'm the type of person that can look at another design and kind of see where I want to go with it. And so I'll format or customize something that's pre-existing. There are other folks that would prefer to start with a blank template. The good news with Canva is you can use either approach. And then when you go to download it, it's very important to pick your file type. These are just some things to just know as you use Canva. When you go to download, you can download your photo as a PNG. You can even download it as a PDF. You kind of have to know what you're going to use it for. If you're going to be using it on social media, I recommend you always use a PNG. It's the new standard and high quality format for social media. JPEGs, bitmaps, those are a little older, and sometimes JPEGs can get funny. So PNG tends to be the most versatile right now. PDFs are great if you're transferring the file as an actual document. So for example, many people have done resumes through Canva. I have a media kit, a one sheet. And with that, I'm able to download it as a PDF and send that to folks. So in the past, you might have used Publisher for that, or you could have done Microsoft Word, but this gives a lot more flexibility for style and format. And then to give you an idea about dimensions. So this was for a client that was doing school lunches right here in Darien. And this is a square graphic for Instagram. So if you're an Instagram user, you know that your images have to be 1 by 1, whatever the ratios are or the dimensions are, it needs to be a perfect square. But then on the website, we needed a banner along with the newsletter. So we took the same square graphic and we adapted it into the longer rectangle shape for the newsletter and for the website. So this is when I talk about knowing your dimensions, this is why, because this rectangle shape would not work on Instagram, whereas that square one will. And at the same token, that square one doesn't quite work the same way on the website, depending on the design. But our design for our website, we needed this more rectangular shape. And with that, I'm actually going to skip the question slide and go right into Canva for you guys. All right. So when you first log into Canva, to save time, I've already logged in. I'm assuming that you've either signed up for free or you're creating your account. So once you log in, it looks like this. Now, this is a lot. Even for me, sometimes it's a little confusing. This is the new way that they lay things out, and you're wondering, where do I go from here? So let's take you a little bit through the navigation. Starting in the upper left, you've got your home, which is right here. This is your landing page, and as I mentioned, it may change. Right next to it, you have templates. This is to give you an idea. Look at all the different verticals, and I made the mistake of clicking the button instead of hovering, and it's going to take me right into the template page. Bear with me. Here we go. Here you can actually browse the templates by category. So you've got Facebook covers, Instagram stories, and because they're graphic heavy, they are loading a little slow while I'm on Zoom. But you can see the different shapes and sizes are changing based on what you're looking for, right? So as we keep going, like even presentations, you can even customize your PowerPoint presentation. For those of you who are podcasters, YouTube bloggers, influencers, you can create your cover image. That's the splash that shows up to preview your video on YouTube. And this is actually super helpful as well, this particular format. For example, in the web world, when we're embedding a video from YouTube or Vimeo, sometimes that thumbnail doesn't come over. And so what we'll do is come over to Canva and create a thumbnail that we would then use on the website as a preview image instead of it just being a blank square or just a play button that doesn't show anything. You can even design cards. So these are postcards, birthday cards. I've actually used this for gift certificates for different things in the past. If I enter like my business services in a raffle for something, I can mock up something and then print that as a PDF or download it as a PDF to send to the organization so they can gift it for whoever they want during the raffle. So this goes on and on, right? There's business cards. The thing I will say about the business card ones, because I'm not a graphic designer and I don't know enough about it, when you start getting into the print lines and knowing where your dimension is supposed to end, that gets a little confusing for me. So I actually don't use the business cards, but I know lots of people who have used them successfully. And for those, you know, if you ever needed that, we can find someone who's done it and help you out with that. Here's another cool one, our collages. This is the last one on the end. This is a great way to feature stuff. So for example, when I work with the Boys and Girls Club, a lot of times I get images to put on their social media, which are just flat images of an event that happened. And you kind of want to showcase them as quickly as possible in a really cool way. And collages sometimes are a great way to do that. I know I mentioned Annie earlier, Annie has a jewelry line for her social media. She might want to use maybe this one where it's several different jewelry items in the same image if she wanted to, right? So it gives you some flexibility. So I'm going to head back over to the home screen and take you through creating a design. As soon as it loads. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. All right. And then the last thing I want to show you here, the cool thing about Canva is if you get lost in the navigation, they continue to show you the same stuff over and over again. Whether you hover over here and you go to templates and you pick one, or if you come here in the center section and where it has recommended social media, there's still more options of the same thing. They're just laying it out differently to see what resonates. Here you can see this is the library of what I've recently used Canva for different client stuff or personal things. And so these are my designs. So this is the history of all things I've ever created in Canva. And there is a question in the chat that's a good question, is any advice on creating a design that is more easily adaptable to different social media platform formats so you don't have to recreate the wheel for every post? So Virginia, that's a really good question. My 2 cents on it is I tend to start with the square for Instagram. And the reason for that is that particular square for Instagram can be used on Facebook. It can be used on LinkedIn, can be used on Twitter, and it doesn't have any problems. Usually the challenge is if you were aiming for, let's say, like your Insta story where it's the long rectangle, and then you try to use it on other platforms, it may not work. Given that Instagram is where we primarily do our marketing, we aim for that one first. Another thing that you can do is if you did upgrade your Canva plan, within Canva, it gives you the option to resize it. And I'll show you that as part of the demo. There's another question in the chat, apologies, it says, on the free version, you're limited to the number that you can save. I'm not aware of that, but at the same time, Beth, I've not had the free plan for a while now. So if that is a new limitation, I'm happy to look into that and confirm. When I was using the free plan, I can tell you I didn't have any limits that I knew of, or if I never hit it. So I'll look into that because I'm not sure. So I'm going to head over to the upper right side of my screen right now and click Create Design. If you guys can see the big purple button. And then it's going to ask me, do I want to create custom dimensions, start with an image? I'm just going to go straight with an Instagram post or an animated social media. And I'll show you the difference between the two. The animated social media is a lot of fun because it allows you to still create that square social media image, but it gives you video options. So let me show you the Instagram post first, and then we can do a quick animated one. All right, and it does take a minute to load, as all the different features do, depending on your internet speed. Also, I find Zoom slows down a lot of my internet, so that happens. One thing to know about Canva is that from your home tab, that is always going to be open over here. Whenever you click a new design, whether you're going into your old design or a new design, it opens it in a new tab so that you don't have to worry about where you are. The downside is if you're experimenting, you could end up with a lot of tabs open. So just be aware of that. So when you first open your Canva to create a design or even modify a design, this is what the screen looks like. Your design would be in this big white space here on the right side. You've got navigation across the top. And you also have navigation down the left side. So I'm going to go across the top and then come back to the left side. So across the top, you've got file, where you can name your design here, where I'm going to call this Canva tutorial. And as I mentioned, there are multiple places where things are done in Canva. Right here on the same line, you see this now changed to Canva tutorial. So you can rename it here, or you can rename it from file. You'll notice the dimensions are here, 1080 by 1080, so it's a perfect square. We can create a new design, which will open another tab yet again. So let's say you're in this screen and you're like, oh, I want to do something else. You can go to another screen. The interesting thing is, while you're in this screen, you can create multiple designs within the same, what I call collections. Some people call them albums. Some people call them, screens. It just depends on however you want to call it. But in this collection of images, you can kind of keep your topics, your clients, those kind of things together. You can choose to manually save it. These type of things are automatically saved, and it'll actually tell you if there's a save error. If you see right here next to resize, there's a back arrow, and then it says all changes saved. So you'll notice it just did it. It's every few minutes your design is auto saved. So you don't have to worry too often about losing it. The only time you need to worry is if you lose your internet connection, because it is over the internet, and if it's not saved across the internet, you will lose it. You can do things like enabling the ruler. This is very helpful for guidelines and making sure things are lined up exactly. Here's guidelines. I think that's also within it. And then we've got margins. So margins is important. Like I said, if you're printing stuff, we're not printing, so we don't need the margins. And then also print bleed. Again, this is what I was mentioning with the business cards. You need to know how that works as you go to print. So we also don't need this. This is for social media. I don't really mind the ruler because it does help me know exactly where things go. There's also next to it, under file, there's also save to a folder, resolved comments, version history, make a copy, download, and help. Now, making a copy means you can just copy the whole album over to another album. Version history is helpful. Like, as I mentioned, it's auto saving. So in case something goes wrong and it's saved and you really didn't want that and you needed to go back, you might have accidentally deleted something. It allows you to do that. And then resolving comments is helpful if you're working within a team and multiple people are making edits and comments. So you might have seen this in Microsoft Word as track changes, something similar to that. And then to Virginia's question about how do I make sure my image is versatile, with the paid plan, you do get this button that says resize, and you can choose your custom image size. You can actually choose your format type, and it'll, like, if you know that it needs to be a presentation or a Facebook post. I don't know if you can see this, but next to each of these hover items, you can see the dimensions changing. And that's why this is so important to know what dimensions you need, because your image could get cut off depending on what the limitations of your dimensions are. You got your back button. This is your undo, or also Control Z works. Or and I think on Macs that would be the whatever the Mac version of the Window key and Z. I'm a Windows user. We keep going across the top. We've got here the name of our design. You can share this design using a link with other people. I'm set up with my paid plan to have a team. There's currently no one in the team, so that's why there's no name there. And then just like if you use Google Docs, where you can get a link to send with someone, you can do that. Here's your download button. And as I mentioned, with your download button, here are the different file types. Canva already chooses the PNG as a suggested format. Because I don't have a design yet, it's not popping up. So we will come back to this. And then the very last one, you can see there's a lot more items where you can share them via email. You can share them via different social media platforms. You can even upload them directly to your cloud or remote storage. And they even have a print shop. Now, I've personally not used this, but they are becoming more and more versatile as a platform, Canva is, to allow you to send things right to print if needed. So let's get to designing. How do we even start? Now let's go up and down on the left side of the screen. We've got templates, which is immediately activated. You can search within the template. So if we wanted to do like maybe a holiday greeting, we can just type in holiday and see what we get. And here you can see right away, there's lots of different examples. Since we're business owners, maybe we want to do a holiday sale. And you can see when it loads that it pops up here on the screen. And so what I tend to do, if I know I have a topic in mind, so for example, today we're going to do something around the holidays. What I do is I bring over one image and then I click add page, and then I keep going. And if something else jumps out at me, maybe this one, I'll put it there. And this is just kind of my way of bookmarking. These are the things I'm interested in, right? And because I'm not sure what design is going to work out, let's grab one more, maybe this one, just because. All right, now we've got 3 images, 3 pages, right? Page 1, page 2, page 3. And then across the top on these, they have their own menu controls, right? You've got page 1, which you can even give a name to. You've got the add notes. This is where we're talking about resolving the comments. You can move it up or down in the collection. So now it's page 2 instead of page 1, just like that with the arrows. You can duplicate it. So let's say, this is very important. So let's say you get the design to a point where you're like 90% sure, maybe even 50% sure, this is what I want, but you want to try something, but you don't want to mess up what you've already done. If you were to duplicate it, you would create underneath it an exact copy of what it looks like. And then you would just keep one as the saved version within it and saying, well, you know what? I'm going to keep that just for right now. And then when you get to a point where you know what you want to do, you can delete it or keep it. It's up to you. You also have the trash icon. So since I've duplicated and are identical, I can delete that and it's gone. And now I just have this one. And then I can also add a page here in between page 1 and page 3. Now there's a blank. We don't need this blank, so I'm going to delete it. So those are the navigation on the page controls. There are so many more navigation points. We're going to get to as many of them as we can within our time. So let's go down the left side of the screen now. So we looked at templates. We then have uploads, and this is where you can upload items to work with. So through here, these are various things that I have uploaded based on the different client work that I'm doing. So I just put together a Eventbrite cover or Facebook event cover for a fundraiser for Toys for Tots. So here's the Toys for Tots logo that I uploaded to do that. And these stay here as long as you need them. I try to clean them up as I go, but sometimes they just get left. You can upload videos. You can also upload audio. My suggestion for any image, video, or audio, please be sure that you have permission to use those. Be very careful with things that are copyrighted and if you or licensed and you don't have license permission. So these more or less are logos, public logos that we are allowed to use, but I try very hard to stay away from copyrighted images or images that haven't been licensed. So I get all of my images either through Canva. I use Pixabay or Pexels, which are free photos, royalty-free photos online. And I also have a license for Adobe Stock. So because you want to be very, very careful that you post something on social media and then you may owe someone royalties later if that image was not properly licensed. And as we talk about photos, here we are. You can see Canva showing me the things I've recently used. And here are photos that are trending. Now, Canva has its own library. When you look at yours, you'll notice that as I hover, some of these say Pro, and that is because I have the Pro plan. I can use them. Canva will allow you to use them in your design. When you go to download, if you don't have the Pro plan, Canva will just ask you, do you want to pay $1 for that image? And if you don't, which most people don't, then you'll just have to swap out your image before you download it. Here's where the fun stuff happens in Canva. It's the elements. And this is where, if you're very creative, you can take full advantage. Again, within it, there's more navigation points for, here are the recently used one. And these are stuff that I've used or tried out. Excuse me. These are different frames. You can see they have some animation to them. These are really fun if you're doing an animated graphic. For a lot of clients, especially after the holidays, I work with a lot of nonprofits. We use these animated thank yous often. They're kind of cute. And then if you're like, I don't want to look at these anymore, up here in the search bar, there's an X. That's the filter. Just get rid of the X. And then here we are. We're back here. So then you've got your featured items, which are things that are based on the holiday or what's going on and what's trending. Canva's trying to put right in front of your eyes, and you might find these useful or not. And then sometimes if you don't want to even search for what you're looking for visually, you can just type in the element name that you think. And Canva's search is fairly decent, so you might find what you're looking for, but sometimes it takes some hunting. Underneath that, we've got text. So here's just kind of, you can click that, add a heading, and it pops it right on screen. Click it and drag it where you need it. If you actually drag it, hold on. When you go to drag it, you just got to make sure when there's multiple elements on the page that you have your crosshatch, and it can get a little dicey trying to grab it, especially when like in this case, because of the storm, my internet connection's a little slow. So trying to grab it, there it is, to move it can be a little annoying if your internet connection's slow. So there we go. But I don't really want that there. So I'm just going to, on my computer, just hit the delete key and it's gone. But then there's also really cool, if you keep going down the list, Canva's done a bunch of stuff that make things interesting that you don't actually have to do much of the design around. So here's one where the font and the colors are already kind of done for you. And I've kind of put it on there twice or 3 times. There we go. We only need one. And so then you would just drag it. So this is where someone in the Canva world has already done the hard work of picking that font, styling it, layering it. And all you have to do is maybe change your colors and you can even take it even further. So for example, if I'm trying to click the B, but it's not, if you try to do what I'm doing and you're clicking and it's not working, I tend to just click out in the gray space over here and then come back and try one more time. There we go. And then I want to say change. Maybe. I apologize, guys. My internet connection is quite slow, so it's not cooperating with me. But ideally, you should be able to double click in there. There we go. I'm typing change, just because that's what I feel like typing. And then on the yellow one, double clicking in and says the name. So now it says change the name. So that's how you can use something that's pre-configured for your needs. If I were to double click in again on the yellow one, and we can highlight the whole thing. We can even change this color to red. We can change this one at the back if we can make it grab it.
Where did you get the color?
Oh, sorry, up here on the A. Thank you. So up here, because it's a text box, hold on.
I got it.
Yep. And so this is actually a very good question. Thank you for that. When you're going to edit, the different elements will activate a secondary or tertiary menu at this point. So if I click elsewhere, see where the word animate is? Nothing's there. Now, if I double click on one of these elements, like the text, now I can change the font. I can change the size when they actually activate. You can change the color. And then you can change depending on the style of fonts. Now, Canva does allow you to upload your own fonts. And what you'll find is sometimes when you upload the font, you can't within that specific font make it bold, but someone who uploaded this, like if I look up, this says Carlson. So if I look up Carlson, the different versions of it may be there. And it doesn't look, and so see, there's Carlson Jazzy, Carlson Script, Carlson Slab. And so somebody has uploaded this font, so there's kind of only one variation. There are lots and lots of font in Canva, and they continue to grow every day. Can you do animations in Canva? The answer is yes, you can do animations in Canva. Canva itself has a huge library of tutorials, and you can use that if you do the animated graphic. So I'll just show you one last thing. I know we're a little bit over time, so give me 5 more minutes and I'll just show you one last thing that's important to know. So let me get rid of this element because we don't need it anymore. It doesn't quite work with this design. If it'll ever delete. There we go. And then this one. All right, it's not cooperating. But what I wanted to show you really quickly is that the photos, see these different frames? You'll notice that, again, as I mentioned, the tertiary menu changed again. Now you've got filters that you can filter on the photo, right? You can change the filter on it if you wanted to maybe make it black and white. You can adjust the photo. So if there was a photo that needed cleaning up, you can use these. I'm not an expert at photography, so these type of items don't quite resonate with me. I stay away from them. You can crop your image. So for example, this particular image within the frame, it looks like they were using the white box. I'm just going to move it over. And that's how you would kind of modify the photo, right? Still want to get rid of this guy. There we go. So now you notice that that image is now black and white when it wasn't before. Within this particular item that I chose, right, you see all these different elements that are clickable. It looks like they took a plain tan background and then they created this paisley print. That's showing you how detailed you can get. If you look at this other image that I brought over, this template, it literally has a photo, a box, a white box, a frame, and a text box. It's very simple. So you can go from super complicated if you're very creative and you have the eyeball for those kind of things, or you can keep it super simple and just use just basic elements. And we had a couple more questions in the chat. And the question is, how do you upload your own image? It's a very good question. You would go over here to uploads. And if I open up my downloads folder here, see if I can do that really quickly for you guys. If I open up my downloads folder and I grab an image, so I'm working on something for a client with Caviar, I just grab it from my folder, drag and drop it, and it'll upload. You can also click the upload media button, and then you can actually choose to upload it from your device, which will open up the embedded folder, or Facebook, on the other items, Google Drive, Instagram, and Dropbox. Now, this was a super, super fast version of all the different features of Canva. There are many, many more, and we could spend hours in Canva specific to what you're doing. And one of the things to keep in mind that as you have different elements on your page, this menu across the top here, this tertiary menu, will change accordingly. So I just want to show you, I click the photo, those are your options. When I click the text, those are the options. And even if I click this rectangular square, there's only one option, and so on and so forth. So don't feel intimidated or confused as things keep changing, because Canva's trying to make it easy. But if you're not a graphic designer and the menu keeps changing, it can get a little confusing. So I always say start with a simple design and then advance to the more advanced features. So for those who are able to stick around, happy to take questions.
Nalini, this is Sue. Can you take this? So let's say you want to do a holiday card to your clients or something like that. Can you take this screenshot and embed it in an email, or does it have to go in an art file?
No, so what you would do is you would always want to download it so that you get the best resolution on it. You can screen grab it. But what I find is with the screen grabs, you lose some resolutions and your dimensions might be off. So this is a good question. If you click your download button here in the upper right, notice these were all grayed out before. And now where it says PNG, which is suggested, you also have these other images. And so for the graphic designers on the call, we've got SVG, which are like high res sharp vector images that they can do more with. You've got your print qualities. And then if you did do an animation, you would download an MP4 video. So there was a question in the chat about animation. So if you did put animations on it, there's your MP4 video. Couple other things are on size. So most times you're going to use the size ratio of 1. What you want to do is keep an eye on this if you need to send this to print. If you're sending this to print, whether it's going to a print shop like t-shirts or a print shop for business cards, whatever you're printing, go higher up. So as you increase the size, notice this went up to 3,000 pixels, right? Because you might need a higher resolution. For social media, the 1000 by 1000 is good enough. That's more than what you need for social, but for printing, you need a much higher quality. The other thing to keep in mind here is this transparent background is only available on the paid plans. And that was actually the reason I ended up upgrading, was because I just needed to download logos with transparent backgrounds. So I would upload the logo file and download it again with the transparent background. And there was a couple more questions in the chat. Are there MailChimp or email templates in Canva? It's a very good question. We can go take a quick look. So if we go over here and we take a look at what the templates are, let's see, let's move the chat out of the way. We've got social media, t-shirts, business, marketing. Here's newsletter. Now, the thing I will say about the MailChimp or email templates is that I think what you're going to end up with is an image to embed in your MailChimp or an image to embed in your newsletter, which while these look great, something to keep in mind is that they're not always mobily friendly. So these won't auto resolve on your phone so that you can read the text. You'll end up with it might end up looking just like this on your phone and you can't read it. So just keep that in mind if you do want to use one of these, but these are great templates. What a lot of people use these newsletter templates for are when they're actually going to print them and send them. The online versions they tend to use the embedded version of the MailChimp template or Constant Contact. And if you're using WordPress for your blogs, same thing, because those will auto resolve for mobile friendliness. Any other questions?
When you're printing, or like when you use like Photoshop, you go to Print Studio Pro kind of thing. If you're using a home printer, how do you, like going from here to your own printer, if you have like a pro printer or something, how are you doing that?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. Says PDF print. It would be in the download. I think you would have to be able to download it. You'd have to download it as the right format. And then from wherever, you might even be able to open it up in that software and send it to
put it into Photoshop and then, I see, okay.
Yeah, but the way I think about it is that if you already have a Photoshop plan, is it worth doing it in Canva versus just doing it in Photoshop? It depends on what
I usually do it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Liking the template.
Yeah.
I just have one more really quick general question. I've been looking at the website while you've been speaking, and I know this is just a general question for everybody. I noticed that there's all these crazy resume templates with all different colors and photos. Are people doing this now? I'm so like out of the. Is this like a new thing?
So I have mixed feelings about that one. So I'll show you what I did with mine. So it's not my resume, but I was told to create a one sheet or a media kit. So I did some Googling and then I ended up back on Canva. And so I'll show you mine that I customized. You know, I'm sure someone who does PR will say this is not it, but I'll show you how I ended up using it. So it's one of my designs when they load. It's been a while. I did it sometime early. Here it is, my media kit. Whenever it loads, there we go. So here you can see, I'll zoom in a little bit. Do 50%, see if that's readable. Nope, that didn't help. But either way, there's like a little profile here, my contact details. I mean, this is, you know, we've got rates, we've got classes that I do and my expertise. So this was designed around Early in the year before the pandemic, I was like, I want to teach classes. And so I was told, well, you need a one sheet that you can give to people about your classes. And then ironically, it just kind of happened organically and I never needed to use it, but I've here and created. And so there's lots. So this is how I'm using it. Now, like I said, I'm sure there's a PR person that'll say that's not the right way. But it was a nice thing that I could just kind of create something that was quick and dirty, that expressed everything I needed in one shot. That was beautiful.
Oh, okay. I see. Virginia wrote, more expected if you're in marketing design. I mean, it's been so long, you know, I was a senior copywriter, but you know, in the old days it was black with white type. I'm like, is this what people are doing now?
I mean, my actual resume looks like that. And to give you another example, so because I know Annie's a jewelry designer, I had a client call me late last year and they needed, and Annie, you might tell me the actual name of this. I forgot what it's called, a line sheet. And I didn't know what a line sheet was. And she's like, can you create a line sheet? Here's an example of it. Here are the photos. And just
It was a lookbook.
Yeah. And so this was this time last year, because she had a show she was trying to do. She gave me everything she needed and we used Canva to create this. So Annie, as a jeweler, is that in line with what a lookbook would look like?
That's a line sheet.
A line sheet. Yeah.
Yeah, the lookbook actually kind of like flips through. It just kind of is a little bit more animated.
A little more animated. Yeah. So this was a line sheet she needed for something she was doing last year. So that's another example of how you can use it for your business. In this case, this was a jeweler.
I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
If I would like to make a header for my emails, can I do that in Canva?
Absolutely. So what you would do is go to your template and you're going to look for, sometimes template doesn't help you. So what you will do is go to recommended for you.
Oh.
And then what you're looking for is, if you just kind of go through these, I think we're looking for marketing. And then you would just kind of scroll through till you find it. Here it is, email header.
Oh, great. Perfect. Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Yep. And so then when it opens up email header, you know, you can see right here in the white block is exactly the dimension you need. And then there's all these templates that'll show up on the side that you can choose from the template, or you can custom build your own.
Oh, it froze.
Oh, is that better? How about now? Am I back? All right. Maria, did that answer your question? Oh, am I still frozen? Hello?
I can, no, you're fine for me. No.
Yeah, you're not frozen.
Okay, cool. All right. Any other question?
Yeah, this is really great.
No
Okay.
problem. Well, thank you guys so much. My contact details, if you just Google Nalini Goolsaran, EdgeSpace Marketing, either of those, you'll find me. Felicia and lots of the people on the call also have my contact details. But if you guys are, want to use Canva and you get stuck, feel free to shoot me an email. We can help you figure it out.